getting there. Still have some stuff put up on this side, Xbox One, Xbox, and everything. But I want to take a break today and talk to you guys about a few controllers that were sent my way. These are, of course, the PowerA controllers that you've seen kind of floating around online, where people are talking about them, finding them at different stores, Best Buy and everything. And that is, of course, the Wired Controller Plus from PowerA, where they have two different designs, one for Zelda and one for Mario. Now, you probably saw the title. Yes, we are giving these away. Check the link down in the description so you can enter and be a part of the giveaway. Both of these will be given away, one to each person. The first person drawn can pick which one they want, and then the next person is left with whichever one is left. But they're free, they're a giveaway, so it should be a lot of fun. Make sure you enter it down in the description. Now, we're going to be taking a look at these today because we have to kind of compare them to what they're competing with, which is the Nintendo Switch Pro Controller. Now, there are some advantages these have, namely the price. These are $30, which is less than half the price. And there are a few other advantages as well. So let's take a look and see how this compares and if the Wired Controller Plus is worth your money. Now, we're going to start with what you actually get with this controller when you open it up. And we'll go through that real quick. It does come with a pretty long controller, a 10-foot cable that is a micro USB to Type A USB, and that plugs into the dock. Or if you have a USB Type-C to Type A adapter, will plug into the system, the Nintendo Switch, through its USB Type-C port. Now, the controller itself, while it looks wireless at first glance without the cable, it needs that wire plugged in. It will not work otherwise. And of course, it also comes with a D-pad that is not terrible like the Hori D-pad. Remember that controller we saw where it was a cap on top of buttons? This is an actual D-pad, and we'll get into that in a minute. And the other thing that it comes with that is very interesting, that is, I think, something that no one was really expecting, comes with several different analog stick caps, as you see here. That's right, you can take off the caps and replace them with different size ones, whether they are way taller or they're wider. And that's an interesting idea, something I really don't see very often in this price range. Now, the front of this controller is kind of like a rubberized texture. It's an interesting feel. I think the idea is so that your palms, if they sweat, they'll actually stick to it better. It doesn't become slippery because the back is more of a plasticky feel. It's not quite like the front. And then, of course, on the front, you can see this D-pad. It also has all the buttons that you'd expect from a Pro controller in this form. But what's interesting is the D-pad is technically better than the Pro Controller D-pad, which sounds weird because the Pro Controller D-pad is not bad, but it's known to hit several different arrows at the same time. They went with a different design. They went with a more traditional design with this D-pad, where it's hard to press different buttons of opposing sides at the same time. And the way they did that is, well, they do what you usually do. You put essentially a little ball inside in the plastic mold so that if you try to press the other side, it just will not press. The Pro Controller on the Nintendo Switch Pro Controller, the standard one you can get, doesn't have that. That's why people are getting all of those crazy directional presses when they're using it. It's something Nintendo definitely fell short on with the Switch Pro Controller that is rectified here. A quick size comparison for the Nintendo Pro Controller and the Wired Controller Plus from PowerA. You can see this one is a little bit smaller. It's definitely smaller, and it would be harder, I think, for people with larger hands compared to the Nintendo Pro Controller. It's also much lighter. It doesn't have a battery like this one does. It certainly doesn't have the motherboards that this one has, where it has several boards in here, and it also does not have rumble. That's right. So this picture, all of that being taken out of the Pro Controller, and you can kind of get the idea. This is a very light controller. I don't personally like that. I like having some actual heft when you're using it because it makes it feel a little better, and these light controllers have never really done it for me. Some people like them. Me personally, I like them to be a little heavier. Now, changing the analog sticks, pretty easy. They just pop right off. There's essentially a clicking mechanism with the plastic. These pop right off, and you can change them how you would like. Comes with several different types. Comes with 3 sets total, with different width on the actual head of the analog stick, and then different lengths of the connector itself. And you can kind of play around with it. I've never really understood why you have a longer analog stick as opposed to a shorter one. It has to do with travel distance generally. I know a lot of people were getting accessories for their 360 controllers or in their Xbox One controllers that would make them much taller, and I assume that's just for shorter travel distance from where it is. But the one thing that's very interesting about this setup, and it's something that kind of bothered me, and it might not bother others, especially if you have larger thumbs, might be welcomed. The heads of these are very wide, and it feels kind of awkward at times when you're playing using this controller. I kind of prefer how the regular Pro Controller has smaller analog sticks for the actual head. It's much larger on this one. It's a little weird. It's not really game breaking or anything. It's just kind of awkward when you're first using it. I did start to get used to it as I was playing with it. It's a little odd. They also went with a much more steep curve on the ZL and ZR triggers on the back compared to how the Nintendo Switch Pro controller is. That actually might be welcomed by a lot of people because it's a little easier to grip the back buttons. All right, now let's actually take this thing apart and see how it looks inside. All right, here we go, guys. You're gonna come with me in real time on this ride as we get this apart. A bunch of Phillips head screws on the back. Thank you for keeping it easy. Let's get this guy apart real quick. All right, here we go. We got all the screws out. Let's pop this guy off. So this is actually really funny. Remember how I talked about the weight? I definitely mentioned I don't like how light this thing is already. They put weights in at least to try to weigh it down. I still find this light. It's really funny. I'd hate to know how. Oh my gosh, that's actually kind of heavy too. They put like actual weights in here. I wonder how light this thing is without them. Wow. Okay, it is extremely light now. Like, this is insane. Oh my gosh, I had no idea these had weights in them. That is hilarious. So they don't have rumble as we talked about. They instead kept weights in here to try to simulate the weight of a rumble motor. But this is really funny because I still find it heavy or light. I still find it light with these in there, and without these, it feels like nothing. So maybe you're a fan of light controllers. Pop it open and get these weights out if you want it to be even lighter than that. Couple Phillips head screws around here, and we should be able to pop this guy right out. Everything comes out as one piece, and there goes there goes my shoulder button. That's nice. Everything comes out as one piece, and you'll see here right away, it's very interesting about this D-pad. Now, they purposely raised it up, as you see here, and they did that more than likely because of the D-pad itself needed to be kind of raised up because it wasn't going to reach it from this board because of these replaceable thumbsticks. Very interesting. But they managed to use a pretty straight setup there with simply headers. These are just like metal headers that you would do for different things, whether it's a TSOP chip. Very standard to use that there. Very easy to do, very stable. Everything else is wired. Looking at this now, this is not a cheap looking board. So PowerA, like this is actually a pretty thick board. PowerA looks like they actually put some effort into this entire setup. Let me look at this analog stick. Does this not come off? Maybe it's on there good. Okay. Analog stick is, oh, nice. It's actually metal. Wow. Usually you'll see these kind of be plastic. This is actually metal. Huh. This is not built to be cheap. I'm actually shocked right now at what I'm seeing. This is actually a pretty solid controller inside. Huh. Okay. Well, let's take a look at the D-pad. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. This is something that we've been missing on some of the... Do you see how right here there's like this spike? I'll get the camera to kind of focus. See how there's like this spike right here? The idea of that is that when you press down on it, you can't press all of them at once because it'll stop it. It will angle like that, but I can't press it completely down. That is what we're missing. Something that defined is what we're missing on the Switch Pro controller. And that really helps a D-pad actually function like a D-pad to where you can't hit multiple presses at once. Do you see how it like pivots on that? That's what we've been missing on the Switch Pro controller. Wow. PowerA, good job on your controller. I got to give you some credit for this. This is actually a well-done controller internally. Even going as far as to put weights in just to help it along, because I think it's light now. I can't imagine what it would have been like if they didn't even put weights in here. But yeah, good on PowerA for designing a controller that's not terrible. Like internally, it's actually built well. Let's get this guy back together and we'll do some final thoughts. Now, my final thoughts on these controllers: if you're looking for a cheaper alternative to the Nintendo Switch Pro controller and you don't mind having to sit a little closer to your TV, of course the Switch Pro controller is wireless, so there's a little more freedom there, but maybe you play on like a computer monitor and you're right there in front of it anyway. Maybe you don't sit 10, 12 feet back or something like that, and you don't mind having a cable running to it. These are a good alternative. They work overall and they give you options with the analog sticks. Of course, if you want a wireless option, you're going to have to go with the Switch Pro Controller right now. If you want that quality, you're going to want to go with that as well. There's not much else out there. But for what it comes with and the value of the pricing at $30, it's hard to beat this. The D-pad is good, the analog sticks aren't bad, and the buttons have good travel and they press well. So PowerA, good job. You made good controllers for the money at $30. And yes, I recommend these if you want something different from the Pro Controller. You're not willing to spend $70. Even if you want a controller for friends that come over, you can't beat these. It's a good value. PowerA, good job. Thanks for making a good controller after I had to go through the mess that was the Hori controller. Thanks guys for watching. Check the link down in the description if you want to enter to win one of these too. And I'll see you guys next time.